To this, from the formal side of this, of course, very upset parents, very upset community members as well. Well, what is the view of the South African Democratic Teachers Union? Well, I have with me Mr. Mugwena Maluleke, who's made time to come in to speak to us. You're the Secretary General, of course, and when you hear how upset the teachers are about this, this is not what we should be talking about. We should be talking about matric pupils getting ready for exams, going into the holidays, how teachers are coping as well. But now we have another murder. Terrible, isn't it?
Quite terrible. Let me take this opportunity really to extend our heartfelt condolences to the Maluleke family and the school and the community at large. We are quite shocked by what is happening in our society. And when listening to the teachers, listening to the communities, indeed, as teachers, we have to express that particular fear in what we see today in our schools, how our young people are being attacked, how our teachers are being attacked, and the lack of security in around the schools and around the society, in the communities as well. Because while it did not happen right in the schoolyard like we have seen in Alexander, it happens outside, but it is still something that we have got to deal with, because these are our children. We love them and would have loved to see them really preparing for the half-year examination with the enthusiasm of those teachers and the other classmates having to support each other. Now having to deal with this trauma as a school and having to deal with the trauma as the teachers is something really that is taking a toll on us.
I believe as well that Palesa, when she left school, she wanted to go on to become a doctor or a pharmacist as well. So she really had very high ambitions. Terribly sad. When we talk about security though, Mugwena, how do we try and get our heads around this? Because you're quite right, it doesn't make it better, obviously not, but this wasn't on the school grounds. You raised the issue of security at school, but here was a school pupil going home from extra classes. What does SADTU think needs to be done here? We can't have security following all pupils home. Where do we begin to try and stop this?
We think that we need to change our mindset as the people of our country. We need to save South Africa. And to save South Africa, I think we need to look inside ourselves and find that dose of humanity, that dose of love, and a great one for that matter, that we really have got to say, do we understand the sanctity of life and so forth? Because these social ills, they need us to really be able to converse differently as a community, because you are right, you're not going to have a police that is going to be able to look after all these particular learners as they go home and so forth. Whilst we want the vicinity, to see them around the vicinity, they are visible and so forth, but we need to be able to live in a safe environment by making sure that one, they must not be very soft on crime. You know, crime has got to be dealt with. And those things that are causing crime have to be addressed. Socio-economic problems, unemployment in our society. We cannot make an excuse about that, but we need to be able to say these are some of the things that if we are able to eliminate them, we can then be able to deal with now what the culture that has developed in our country. So
I see reports coming out, Mugwena, exactly to your point, dealing with this harshly. And I was wondering if this was going to come up. The family of Palesa, Maluleke, saying they want the death sentence to come back as well. I know it's probably something that's going to come up time and time again, but this is from the family of the victim. You're saying harsher actions for crimes like this. What about the death penalty?
Well, the death penalty is something that the community has to talk about it, and from our perspective as a human rights organization, obviously, we are saying you can have alternative sanctions other than the death penalty. We know that we come from a history where some of our people have to be killed when basically they were fighting for their rights and so forth, not just because they were criminals and so forth. So we have got to be careful around that particular issue, but harsher sentences are necessary. And then we need to even have, a sophisticated way of really being able to, investigate these particular cases. We can't be having Palesa being killed, and it's a week now. She's being buried, and then there are no clues, there are no, light at the end of the tunnel that the perpetrators are going to be apprehended. And therefore we need a better policing system, a better training for our police, and then but also the community working together with the police, working together with all other law enforcement agencies, so that we are then able to identify and deal with the crime as quick as possible, so that at the end of the day we can bring relief to our people. But clearly it is everyone's business to be able to deal with crime that is facing our country today.
To be fair, the communities aren't trained to deal with crime. I mean, it comes down to the police, surely. I mean, I know it sounds great, and I'm not disagreeing with you that it is everyone's problem, because it is everyone's problem. But not everyone is empowered to create the solution. Surely that falls to the SAPS, the minister, various MECs, but then also what about community safety MECs? There are people who've been voted into power to deal with this. We can't say it's everyone's problem. Yes, it is, but not everyone has the solution. There are people who've been put in charge to deal with this. And they're not doing their jobs. Yeah,
they're not doing their jobs, but what I'm saying is that if we were to deal and root out what is the cause of the problem and so forth, criminals live with us, they live in the society, they live in the communities, and the communities have got to really, at a particular point in time, step up and be able to assist in identifying, so that the police can then be able to do their work of investigation, apprehending these particular criminals. But sometimes the crimes that are happening in our society is such that we have now become so fearful. We are not able to report even when we know that this is happening. I'm saying this because these people don't come from heaven and then just fly in and commit these particular crimes. They live within the community, and the community must expose them, so that then we're able to root out crime in our societies, because we can't live in this high world forever. How long? We can't live with these electrical fences forever. We've got to be able to say there's come a time when we cannot take it as the community. So community safety, we need to be able to form structures, street committees, which can be able to say, let's help the law enforcement agencies, but also the police, that the minister that has been elected by us as the people. We must hold him accountable. That if a crime has been committed, we need to see apprehension. We need to see that justice is done for the people of the Soshanguve, for the Malachi family, and many other families that are affected by this particular thing. We cannot wait for too long before we see justice, because justice delayed is justice denied to us as the community, but as well as the school. So I'm saying it is something that we have got to take it up with the people in authority and make them to account, and make sure that they deploy those particular police that have got to be deployed. But not only that, we also have to go back and say, what is it that we can do ourselves to assist them?
What does Soshanguve going to look like on Monday at the secondary school where Palesa went? What does SADTU call for this coming Monday? Do we want to see the police minister there? Do we want to see men and women in blue? Do we want, tactical response teams? Just as I say goodbye to you, what should the schools in the area of Soshanguve, to protect pupils and teachers, obviously, look like on Monday? What would you like to see?
The first thing that we want to see is psychosocial service. We want psychosocial service for those particular grade 12 and many other learners that are there. We want to see the teachers who are so traumatized, mentally drained, because they have got to look at that particular seat is empty. They have got to be assisted. Whilst the second step must be that we see patrollers in place throughout the community, to making sure that crime is really rooted out of our society. But on Monday, we want to see all teachers attended in terms of counseling, and our student being counseled, because this goes deep into the fiber of a school when you lose one of the students.
How do you think this is going to impact Palesa's classmates and obviously her schoolmates, but those who are in class with her? They have to now try and get ready for mid-year exams. They've got matric exams, obviously end of the year as well, or at least end of year exams as well. So is that where the psychosocial comes in? Because this could derail another pupil's year. It really could.
It could. It has a potential to do that. And hence we're talking about what is more important now is for them to be supported, is for them to be listened to, is for them to be told, look, yes, Palesa is gone, but we can't forget her. And therefore, for Palesa's sake, let's work together and be able to ensure that we take you through, like the teacher was saying, in the name of Palesa, grade 12 of Ntsako, they're going to do it, they're going to make it, and therefore they're going to make sure that her name is engraved in their hearts, and the outcome of the grade 12 must always be dedicated to Palesa. That is the spirit. But you need the support of your psychologists, you need the support of your therapist, who must come in the school and say, yes, you are traumatized, you are devastated, and then we want to walk with you through this particular phase, because that's what they need.
Yeah, it's almost a a year dedicated to Palesa in the memory of Palesa. Do as best you can as her classmates to remember and to honour her. I appreciate you coming in, Mugwena. Thank you very much indeed. You can hear a very difficult conversation to try and have, because where does a Democratic Teachers Union get involved here as well? This was off school grounds, but still within the community. The pupils live there, the teachers live there, which is why they have such a vested interest as well. There's going to be a big debate about the family of Palesa Malachi calling for the death sentence in South Africa. I feel like that's going to become a big debate over the next few days. But my thanks to SADTU General Secretary, Mr. Mugwena Maluleke, joining us.